Good afternoon, Manchester United fans. Tonali, Ederson, is it going to be here we go? Are these going to be the first deals we do this summer? I did see the story from The Athletic this morning about Manchester United about making progress on personal terms with midfielders so that they can act very quickly when the transfer window opens. So we'll jump to the story that's been trending all across Italian media. It's been picked up by lots of people this morning, and this has been relentless. I saw a couple of posts about Tonali and Ederson. And then pretty much looking for news, I saw nothing but stories like from other sources as well, saying Tonali Edison. Is this going to be Manchester United's transfer window start? Is this what we're going to be seeing? It does seem that behind the scenes that there was definitely stories being pushed regarding Edison this morning and Tonali last night as well. So to give you an update quickly before we jump into the comments, I mean, obviously let me know what you think regarding these two players if they're going to be Man United's first signings. But it does seem to be that Edison, we know how much he's going to cost. We know he'd be interested in joining Manchester United. Tonali desperately wants to leave Newcastle, it's being said. It seems that he's submitted a transfer request. That's been shared last night, been shared this morning. So it looks like these two players want out. It looks like at least Edison and probably Tonali look at Manchester United as a very good option. We've got Champions League football, and we can kind of address the issues that they need. Like salary wise, would be no problem, I don't think, for either of those players. But this could be happening quite quickly. So we could be seeing something moving quite fast. So what are people's reactions on this? I'm going to get some comments and put them up as well and see what people are thinking about. Can we say Edison is expensive for 1 year left on his contract, says the Hexian. Be up to you and the madness. Good to see some legends in the chat and um, say Tonali, no thank you, says Neil. Is this going to be like what's the reaction going to be? That maybe I should do a poll in the chat so we can discuss this as a group and decide whether this is a good move or not. I think clearly Manchester United have been linked to Edison relentlessly, and it's been pushed out from Damasio. It's been pushed out from other sources as well. That multiple sources now are pushing out the same information regarding both these players. But apparently, Man United have been we've been linked to Edison relentlessly. I think every kind of month there's a story about Edison for at least the last 18 months. And he would seem to be a player that I think if you signed Edison, most people think he's going to be a backup option, but maybe it's not going to be that these would be the best two signings. But initial reactions for me are I'd much rather go for Anderson and Tchouaméni. But if we got Tonali, I'd be open-minded about how that would work. If we got Edison, I can't really say I'd be incredibly excited. I did see a couple of other stories that have been pushed out this morning as well, just to provide a bit of context that there's no guarantee that these are the first signings. So Manchester United have spoken to Bournemouth as well regarding Tyler Adams. They've also spoken to Bournemouth regarding Krupi Jr. They've also spoken to Bournemouth regarding, they may as well just ask, taking a price on the whole team. And Alex Scott as well is another player that Manchester United have spoken to Bournemouth about in regarding price. So maybe we should find out how much Senesi wants as well as a salary, and maybe we're going to buy half of Bournemouth. I don't know, but I think the most pressing thing at the moment seems to be if Manchester United effectively agree terms with Tonali. That again, it doesn't mean we're going to sign Tonali, but it does start pushing the conversation in terms of like, is Edison a serious like? No, do Man United genuinely want to sign Edison? There's this agreement between Atalanta and Atletico Madrid. I don't see this as being a big hijack. I see this as like two clubs. I'm not really sure if they want to actually get this deal done. If Atletico really wanted this deal done, they could have done this about a month ago. If Manchester United really wanted to get Edison done, they could have pretty much done that. They could have sorted this out already, couldn't they? This is something that we know what the price is going to be. It's not going to be crazy. Trafford, um, that's another Bournemouth player. Bournemouth could get Champions League football, I believe. I don't know if it's still on the cards. I think they need to. Actually, they probably need a massive win, and they probably need Liverpool to have a huge defeat. But no, Bournemouth could be getting European football anyway, so they're in a good state at the moment. Should Manchester United effectively just be getting a price on every Bournemouth player? That's what it kind of feels like, doesn't it, in terms of like what we've been seeing. But I'll go for some comments, and this is one where let me know your thoughts on Tonali. Danny B says, I'm done if we sign Edison. Um, Bournemouth need 9 goals. That's going to be very tricky, unfortunately. No, it's not going to happen, but Bournemouth will get European football, won't they? So I think that will happen. Ederson was moved from the Brazil squad. I guess that the Brazil squad is going to have Casemiro. I'm trying to think who else is going to be in the midfield for Brazil, but no, Ederson's going to be what, 26? He's it'll be 27 in November. It feels a little bit like that. Now, Manchester United might well agree terms with Ederson. It doesn't mean we're going to sign him. My question again is going to be right. Do you feel that Man United will sign these players? So I might put a poll in the chat just to gauge opinion. Do you think these deals are going to be the first deals we do in the transfer window? That according to Italian sources, Manchester United are confident being able to sign them. That is one thing as well. I think the fact Man United are confident doesn't mean that they should actually get these deals done. So welcome to Jules as well. Be up to you. So Ederson, yes, I think he'll be wearing United red, Tonali. So I'm going to put a poll in the chat, and we can put like a question mark over any of these players we're talking about. But I'll put a poll in the chat. I want to get your opinions on whether these deals actually happen. So what it will be, you can vote whether you think Tonali's going to happen, Ederson's going to happen, both these deals happen, or neither of them happen. So I'm going to put a poll to gauge what you think. At the moment, I don't know what to think. I think there might be some truth in this, and it does seem to be that this is suddenly YouTube seems to have woken up, and suddenly it looks like the journalists in Italy are all posting the same sort of thing. So it makes me intrigued. Whether it's going to be it definitely happens, we'll have to see. So let's put the poll in the chat to gauge opinion as well. If you're able to click the like and share the stream as well, that's massively appreciated. So let's have a look at let's see where I'm trying to find. Let me just refresh the stream. So I'm going to try and find like some information on this as soon as I can. But I think one thing we're looking at is Unk says this is a smoke screen. So I'm not going to say that I think that Manchester United will definitely get these deals done. But let's start a poll. So will these deals get done? So will these deals get done is the poll. And I think you can say yes for Ederson, yes for Tonali, if you want to put that one. And then I'll put both in. Manchester United, let's assume Manchester United are going to sign three midfielders. I think most people think that's about right. And if you think we're going to get neither of these two, then you can vote for that one as well. But will these deals get done? I'm trying to think of if you remember last summer transfer window, the first story we saw was Manchester United trying to get Delap, but Delap wasn't interested, so I didn't think anything was going to happen with that. The first deal we ended up doing was actually for Cunha, and Matheus Cunha, he came out quite quickly and said he wanted to join Manchester United. So if you're looking at the situation now, that you got Tonali, like who's going to be buying Tonali if Manchester United don't buy Tonali? The only clubs I see actually credibly linked to Tonali are being Arsenal, are being Manchester United. I don't see there being a bidding war. And probably with Ederson, the only two clubs in for Ederson are probably going to be looking at Manchester United, Atletico Madrid. I feel like Manchester United might buy Ederson as a backup target, and I think that there might be some truth in that one. I think United are interested, but I'd imagine actually, if you look at some of the players, that I think Tonali would be a more likely deal than Ederson because he's played in the Premier League. So I think that is a factor. I think when you're looking at the players, Manchester United are looking at Tyler Adams because they think he's a good player in midfield. That is it going to be enough for Manchester United to bridge the gap to Arsenal and Manchester City? I don't know. They're also looking at Alex Scott, and these would be cheaper options, wouldn't they? So these would be potentially about £40 million. I think for Tyler Adams, I think Alex Scott. We heard rumours that maybe he would be valued a bit higher from Bournemouth, maybe like 55, 60, maybe even 65 million. But I think that price can come down a little bit. So it could be that United just want to find out, just want to find out which players want to join them and then make a decision. So just to go back to what I started with, this is coming out from The Athletic. Laurie Whitwell's posting things as well. So we've got some good journalists on the case in terms of what's happening. But Manchester United making progress on personal terms with midfielders so they can act quickly. I think what might be happening here is Manchester United might well agree terms with Tonali. They're probably easily agree terms with Ederson as well if they haven't done so already. And it might be that It might be that journalists are getting excited, but it might also be that Man United do actually sign one of these players. So I think what's going to happen is Manchester United could foreseeably, if you think about we agreed terms with Belieber about a year ago, we can agree terms with a lot of players, and it doesn't mean we're going to sign all these players, but it does mean that Man United are good to go if when the transfer window opens. So we're probably looking at another 3 weeks until the transfer window opens. And I think as soon as the transfer window opens, Manchester United can get involved pretty quickly. And yeah, please share the stream if you can. It's really important in trying to get people into the channel as well. It really does help a lot. Yannis says that you don't like it that Manchester United have given up on Anderson. I don't think Man United have given up on Anderson. That I think this is a lot of this is coming out from Italian journalists. So I think if United are looking at if Manchester United actually did say, look, we've agreed terms with Tonali, we're going to push forward and sign him, then I think I would draw the conclusion like you are. I think okay, if they're going to sign Tonali and we think the price is going to be 80 million, if we're going to get Ederson for I know that's the rumours are about 13, 38, 39 million pounds, then you would say that potentially Man United can spend like quite big on another midfielder, but that would represent a lot of. We would be looking at over 200 million pounds then, wouldn't we? So we might be looking at potentially a move for Anderson on top of this, but that would feel. Do you think this could actually work in terms of like could Man United get a deal done for Tonali and then look at trying to get Anderson? And could we like go to Anderson and go, look, we've got these players in. I think if we got Ederson, he would. I don't think he'd necessarily be a panic signing, but I think he would be a backup signing. I don't think he'd be a first team player. I think he would be a backup to someone like Anderson, and maybe actually, if we got Anderson and Tonali, would this put Koeman's position under threat as well? So I think if you sign players that are going to be a bit older and a bit more experienced than Koemanu, maybe we're looking at this one. I did see actually, I did see something that said that Man United, I think the Laurie Whitwell story was saying that Man United would consider that Anderson would be too expensive at Nottingham Forest's valuation. Maybe with the valuation of Anderson, it depends. If you look at what has been put out there in terms of from Nottingham Forest side, and Nottingham Forest are pretty much pushing the angle that it's going to cost more than 100 million. Maybe maybe this is Man United saying, look, we're not going to pay the valuation Nottingham Forest want. I'm not sure that Manchester City would pay the amount of money that Nottingham Forest wants. They don't tend to pay like over 100 million either. So I'd imagine that the Anderson price, I think the only valuation we get at the moment is how much money do Nottingham Forest want. And we've seen countless transfers where the first price being put out there is not going to be achievable. I don't think people are going to pay 120 million or 110 million for Anderson. I think that's Nottingham Forest owner. I think that's Nottingham Forest owner actually just trying to push the price up. But let's say United reportedly receive 48 million for finishing third in the Premier League. I think when you factor in TV money and all the other things around it, Manchester United actually might be getting a good windfall because we've had so many games on a Monday and a Friday this year that you get extra TV money for having like those sort of matches as well. So I think United might actually be getting, I'm sure it was like about 130 when you take everything else into account. It's going to be like a big amount of money coming from the Premier League and an extra 90 million. So I think the 48 million is prize money. When you factor in broadcasting and all that other stuff, it's going to be like 130 or so. And then it's going to be like 90 plus. So I think United's turnover of 665 million last season, it's going to be over 700 soon. So they're going to be back up in the money league for sure. I think this is kind of the sort of expenditure you need to try and go for. So let me go for a few comments. I mean, I don't mind. I think we've say if we get Tonali, we don't get Anderson. I think most people are thinking the same way that if we got Tonali, he is like about 80 million, isn't he? Unless we can broker the deal. I don't know whether it weakens the position of Newcastle to get a big amount of money for Tonali because Tonali has supposedly put in a transfer request. So maybe, the writing's on the wall there that I think if you want to leave the club, not Newcastle will not stand in your way. Tonali wants to leave the club. Newcastle are going to let him go. It's just about getting the right price. It does seem that Gordon's going to be on his way as well. So there's going to be big changes again at Newcastle. I'm pretty sure Bruno Guimaraes is going to stay there as well. I think they'll try and keep Lewis Hall there as well. But no, it's going to be a bit of a blow for Newcastle that they are going to have to try and invest the money. And I think that maybe Newcastle could look at some of the other targets we've been looking at. So there are some good options around there. And I'd say with Tony, I think Mainoo's been very good this season, but having some depth as well. That if Mainoo's not playing and you've got some quality players to play, I'm not going to say I think Edison would be a good option, but no, I think this could be, if Manchester United agree terms with Edison and agree terms with Tonali, which I think is what's happening, then it doesn't mean Man United have to sign those players. You can agree terms with a player, and then Manchester United can still push to try and get Elliot Anderson into the club. So for me, this is like it could be that Tonali and Edison are backups, and it's almost like Man United need to at least do the groundwork and make sure they have got some backups because it's not really a good idea to if Man United went all out for Anderson and had no backups at all, then we've said this on the channel for ages, and we said this on Red Devil United that if you don't have credible backups, what do you do? Like you can't go all out for one target, and then if you miss them, have no fallback. You've got to make sure that you've got some other good targets. And most of us don't think Edison is an exciting target, but it seems that Man United do value him. I still don't think we're going to sign Edison, and if we do, then I'll just have to hope it works out better than I'm expecting. But I wouldn't be pushing to sign Edison. I think there's actually better options like Alex Scott and Tyler Adams. I think I would go for before. I'd probably go for Hayden Hackney as well, who's going to be potentially just as good in a year's time. So I think that there's going to be definitely things moving in the right direction. But let's say Newcastle might they might do this. We don't know what deals Newcastle are going to do. But I think Newcastle will have a certain budget. I'm not sure how much money Newcastle can spend. I mean, hopefully. So Lucky, do you know Lucky or is this a guess? You're saying that Anderson has already told United he wants City. If he wants City, then Manchester United are doing the right thing and focusing their energy on getting players into the club that we don't know 100% what's going to happen. I think things are going to happen very quick in about a week when the season wraps up. We're going to see players move quite rapidly. If Manchester United could be doing this one, Edison would be a good swap for Anana. Um, well, I think Anana is actually wanted by his club, isn't he? Edison would be a Garte level. I don't know. I think if you look at Edison, and Edison is a lot better than Agate. Edison, when Atalanta won, did Atalanta win the European? Did they win the Europa League or I think they won the Europa League or the Conference League. Edison is a lot better on the ball than Agate. So I don't make the mistake of thinking that Agate and Edison are similar sort of players. He would be a much more effective player than this one. He's I think passing range for Edison is pretty good. Like he got a lot of assists for Lookman. So there's definitely I think a lot of people looking at Edison are being a bit unkind. Like he's not terrible, but he's not an exciting signing. Like I don't think he elevates Man United to the next level, but it's certainly a lot better than Agate, and it certainly would be a lot better than Toby Collier. So, he wouldn't be an Anderson style signing, but actually he does have a lot of similar attributes to Anderson. So Elliot Anderson as first choice, Edison as a backup would actually work quite well. But I think if you get Tonali in there, it starts getting a little bit tricky regarding this one. Any youngsters at Southampton we can pinch following the fallout from Spygate? I think we got one last year, didn't we? So I think we're looking at raiding. We're probably going to be raiding Leicester City for a couple of youngsters. So I don't think we're going to be seeing this, to be honest. Welcome to the conversation, Kevin. It said almost done deal. Is it confirmed? So with this one, it seems that if you believe Italian media and if you believe Damasio and you believe, I think there's Alfredo Palucci as well. There's a couple of different Italian sources. They're talking about it. They're saying that Manchester United are confident of signing these players. So Italian media is saying that Man United are very confident of getting these deals done. And to be honest, like the competition for Tonali doesn't really seem to be there. there doesn't seem to be anyone else actually going for Tonali. The only club that was linked in January was Arsenal, but most of that, if you've been following the story with Tonali, his agent has been trying to push for a move since January, since the January transfer window. His agent was trying to get a move to Arsenal. If he'd have managed to get that deal done, Tonali would be a Premier League champion. So clearly, he was looking to jump ship months ago. And maybe the stumbling block was I don't think Arsenal could have spent that much money in January. But now it comes to the summer, you could be looking at potentially deals being done. So no, I think with this one, Kevin, that we'll have to see what happens regarding other journalists that I tend to regard with a bit more credibility. But you could look at it and say that Italian media seems to be all over it. So as fans, we kind of have to look at it and go, right, there seems to be a lot of journalists getting very excited, but it's difficult to say whether this is going to happen. I think if something comes out, because apparently this morning people were expecting some breaking news, and maybe this is the breaking news people were expecting. Oh yeah, Edison is much better than Agate. So Charlie, yeah, I think Jules watched him quite a lot at Atlanta as well. Yeah, Fabrizio. To be honest, Fabrizio seems to be talking about Marcus Rashford on a daily basis. So I think Fabrizio kind of hit the wall a little bit regarding that one. Who was it that fell out with Gasparini? Was it Edison? I can't remember. I can't remember. I mean, Lookman left. Lookman went to Atletico Madrid, so maybe Lookman fell out of him. Maybe that was because I think a lot of people look at Edison and think Edison and Lookman worked really well together. So yeah, maybe there is that something along those lines. And say Elliot Anderson, would he pick Manchester United after Pep leaves Man City? So apparently there's going to be something happening at Chelsea regarding Maresca, and I think there might be some legal action. I have no idea what's going to happen, but there could be some complications around Maresca actually moving to City as well to replace Pep. So I don't know. There could be whether this puts off someone like Elliot Anderson. Nobody knows, but there could be some noise around Man City regarding what's going to happen as well. So I don't know. I think with Elliot Anderson, you've got to look at he's going to sign for like a 5-year contract if he joins Man United or he joins Manchester City. And apparently, according to credible sources, is that changing from Pep Guardiola to Maresca, it's not going to change Manchester City's policy because they still have the same policy. They still see Anderson as one of their targets. I think as soon as Maresca is like installed there, people look at Maresca and think there was a lot of links with Enzo Fernandez. So it could be that like, will Maresca get a lot of say in the transfer window? I'd imagine, considering that a lot of the transfers are planned months in advance, that Manchester United would have been thinking about Edison for about like over a year, and I think the Tonali links have been discussed again for quite a long time. I think about a year ago, I saw stories. Actually, maybe in like September, October, there were stories about Tonali saying he'd cost that 80 million pounds, and I haven't really seen anything change since then. So now, Maresca might have some influence potentially if they're looking at buying players from Chelsea, but I don't think he's going to be able to change the transfer policy. I think we're going to see Manchester United, they got the transfer policy, Manchester City have got their transfer policy, and they won't be changing suddenly. But I don't think Man United changed their policy based on Michael Carrick being given permanent head coach next season, but they may speak to Carrick a little bit, and it might be the difference between picking like a Tyler Adams or an Alex Scott or a Fernandez or an Edison. So it might be that they it influences a little bit, but in terms of like whether they sign Edison, say Tonali or Anderson or Tchouameni, that's going to be a club decision, isn't it? They're going to go for that in terms of they'll have an idea what works best for the club, and they will go for that. So I think some of these transfers, even the Benjamin Sesko transfer, Manchester United had scouted Benjamin Sesko for about 2 years. These were not deals that suddenly happened because of any sort of opportunities that arose. These were deals that were talked about for years. Man United and Arsenal tried to get Sesko a year ago, and he wasn't interested. So eventually, yeah, Man United got him because Gyökeres went to Arsenal. You could argue that like I think Sesko is a better signing than Gyökeres, but Arsenal won the league, so they can't really complain too much, can they? It got them over the line. Big up to you, Kazi. Just a note for people that just joined the stream, we have got a vote in the poll where if you think Ederson's going to sign for Manchester United, you can click on that. You can vote for Tonali. Or if you think both deals happen, then vote for that. If you think none of these deals are going to happen and it's just the Italian media getting a bit overexcitable, then vote for that one as well. And we will close the poll during the stream to find out people's reactions. Your midfield three would be Anderson, Scott, and Hayden Hackney, which would actually be, yeah, you got three players there with like Premier League and Championship experience, and you would get people that would certainly fit in the team, like wouldn't they? They'd certainly contribute to the squad. Um, I did see this as well that there seems to be a couple of things like Kevin saying that Matheus Fernandes, Diouf, you got if they get relegated. I did see a story this morning as well talking about Bowen being linked to Manchester United. If they West Ham have got some problems that if they get relegated, they need to raise some money. I think they're all good targets, to be honest, Kevin. And also, I see the same sort of story being pushed regarding Bournemouth. That if you're looking at the Bournemouth situation, Manchester United might well be looking to raid Bournemouth. It's going to cost a bit of money though, but they're looking at Creepy Jr. He would be expensive. They're looking at Tyler Adams. He would be quite reasonable apparently, like about £40 million. If that's actually not a bad deal. They do see Tyler Adams as a good midfielder. Alex Scott would be a bit more expensive. I think Senesi's on a free, but he wants a big salary. But that might be potentially an option for a couple of clubs. And then I think there's another player, Truffert, as well, has been quite highly rated. So maybe that's almost like half the Bournemouth starting 11, isn't it? So I think that's something to look out for. I'd imagine regarding like Bournemouth, then we saw last year actually Bournemouth sold three of their back four. So Bournemouth do have this. They do seem to have a very efficient way of replacing players, and maybe we do see actually a few players leave Bournemouth. Like it's going to be difficult. I think Bournemouth might be on the cusp of European football as well, like Europa League or Conference, but they might have to do another rebuild. So it looks like Bournemouth players again. They're going to lose their manager. It's going to be pretty tricky as well. So let me jump through the comments and say big up to you, Kazi. Good to see you. See, where's James Richardson with his pink copy of Gazzetta dello Sport? It's kind of like we kind of like need that, don't we? I think with this that media's got so quick, isn't it? So rapid that I think as soon as something gets published in Italian media, instead of like doing a morning show the next day, it's literally rapid, isn't it? So I think I was setting up to talk about some of the things I read in the Athletic this morning, and I think as soon as I was like about to go live, like the Tonali story and the Edison story really kind of kicked off. So we'll cover that one in the 1 p.m. stream today. How many players do I think we should sign? I think in terms of like signings, I've always said three midfielders as a minimum. I think they need to be looking at a left back and an attacking player, whether it's going to be a left or it's going to be a striker backup. I think six would feel like if we got six done, I think we could look at that and go, actually, that's not bad business. But if they're quality, if Man United got Lewis Hall, and if Manchester United got, I'm trying to think who's like heavily linked recently. There's lots of links with, I'm trying to think who it is now, Aston Villa. But there's a lot of links with like attacking players, Ndiaye, Rogers, Diamonde. They're all going to be quite expensive. But if you consider that Man United apparently had the money to buy some menu, then if they looked at spending a decent amount of money on the attack, so I don't mind if we got a striker backup or if we look for. No, I would actually be more comfortable getting a striker backup. If we went for like a Mathis Mane from Wolves, or we got like Cooper Jr. feels expensive, but if we did get him, he would be quite an exciting signing. But I think if we got six players and they were good, I think that addresses a lot of the issues as well. Because there are a couple of players that maybe make the step up from academy to maybe squad. I don't think they'd ever walk from academy into the first team. But if you go from the academy to being a player that maybe starts in like a cup game or maybe is on the bench for like some of the other sort of cup games or potentially like on the bench for Premier League games if we actually start playing well, so I think there is potential for someone like Thwaites to break in a little bit, but I don't think that means we can take the transfer window lightly. We have to make sure we go aggressive and get the best targets possible. And say like So your dream windows, you got like a couple. How many you got? Three midfielders, left back, and then you got a centre back and a striker backup. So if United did that, for me, that would address the main weaknesses in our team. Like we need to buy a midfield, which is like you got three players there. So we need to buy three midfield players. We could do with a left back. We could do with a backup striker. And to be honest, I think we could really do with a centre back that's got experience. That I think the Delete injury, we have no idea what's going to happen with him. Harry Maguire can play a certain amount of games. I think Lissandro Martinez can play a certain amount of games. And then beyond that, I think you've got very inexperienced players. I think Aiden Heaven and Yoro are great, but they're going to play a limited. They're not going to play every single match, are they? So, to be honest, like Danny, I'd say that would be like a near perfect window, and you've got six players there. So you've got three midfielders, left back, striker backup, and centre back. The only thing I would say that maybe might be a question is Manchester United need to kind of find out if Vitek is going to come back as a backup goalkeeper because Bindia is pretty much gone. I think Anana's pretty much he's probably going to get loaned out against Trabzonspor if you're thinking what's the most likely. So if you look at the six deals in, plus maybe looking at I would like to see Vitek stay as backup goalkeeper for a season, and then we can like assess what happens like over the maybe he can get he might be able to get some potentially some Champions League games. He might get the FA Cup, the League Cup games, but if Vitek doesn't stay, then I think we need to look at potentially signing a backup goalkeeper as well. So there's quite a lot of work to be done. Seven players in feels a bit unrealistic, but that would be a perfect window for me. Backup goalkeeper, backup striker, um, centre back, fix midfield and get the left back. So seven would be perfect. If we got 5 to 6 players in, I think we could be addressing lots of our vulnerabilities, but it wouldn't be perfect. But I don't think people are expecting a perfect transfer window. If we got 5 players in that were like three midfielders and we fixed like I don't know left back or backup striker, that for me would be like the minimum. Like we can't get less than 5 or 6 players in. That wouldn't be enough. But 5 players would be, I think, it would be practical. Let's say Villa and Arsenal won trophies, and say we finished 15th. Last season was a complete disaster, and it feels like this season we've actually got a credible manager in. We've got a sensible way of like planning for games, and the results have been actually we've got better results than Arsenal and Aston Villa since January. And the fact that by the time Carrick took over, we were only in the Premier League and we had no cup competitions left. So I think the way we're playing, if we were still in the FA Cup or we were still in the like League Cup, I think we could win one of those trophies under Carrick this season because we've been playing very well. We haven't lost many games, but unfortunately, we haven't had that luxury. Next season, you've got to look at the situation and say like, what can we do next season? I think next season, Man United can definitely win a domestic trophy. Like, I don't think there's any reason why we can't do that. And maybe we're going to get a bit of stability. One thing I see earlier is that, so according to news you saw, Carrick doesn't see Yoro as first team material and has doubts about him. That's quite interesting, to be honest. I mean, to go for a few of the comments, I'll try and go for big up to Mo as well in the chat. See you there. So Ineos said title by 2028. We shall see. So that effectively gives Man United this transfer window to fix midfield and maybe do a couple of other deals around. So like Tony says, like you go for Anderson, too many, Alex Scott. I mean, that's a hell of a midfield, isn't it? To be fair, Van Heck, Lewis Hall, Ramos. That would be if you make Vitek stay as well. To be honest, Tony, that's kind of as close to a perfect window as I think you could get. If you got too many and Anderson, I think you've got a world class midfield there, and I think that's probably that could be the best midfield in the Premier League, if not in like comparable with a lot of top European teams. If you got Lewis Hall as well, I think you suddenly got one of the best players in left back situation, and I think backup striker, backup like centre back, like you said, would be spot on. I think United can get maybe 80% of that done. Like I don't think we're going to get too many in Anderson, but we could get players that hopefully are going to be you know decent. Maxi Rahu was the player that was talked about, I think about a day ago on the channel. And Yeah, he was someone when he's playing left wing back. Then you look at Man United and go, right, where would he play for Manchester United? Would he be? Is he going to be playing as a fullback but getting a lot further forward? I'm just trying to think of examples in the past where I think we used to have someone like Dennis Irwin, but Dennis Irwin was very comfortable going further forward, wasn't he? Very effective at doing that. So it could be like no, that could work quite well, couldn't it? And Mo says Tonali, yes, Edison, not so much for you. Yeah, no, I think people. What's interesting is everybody's going to have like a different version of this because I think some people. I think most people are not going to be particularly excited about Edison, but they are going to see Edison as an effective, like maybe a value signing. That I think when you start looking at how much Edison costs, I think that he's not as bad as people think, but they might be buying him for experience. It might be that they're not sure about Alex Scott or Tyler Adams, or to be honest, I would probably lean towards a Premier League football player that's slightly younger than Edison and see that as an actual better signing. But I don't know. It seems that there's that we haven't definitely signed him, but it does seem to be yeah a little bit of news pushing it that way. If we buy tonight in Edison, then just call the season off. Says Red Times. Do you think that it might work out better than you think? That I know there's going to be a little bit of negativity about this one, but do you think it might work out a little better than you think? I might have to go for a second, but um, if you wait a minute, I'm just going to go and see someone at the door. But focus on Anderson. So post for some comments for a couple of minutes, and I'll be back in a second. What did you say? You said usual time, didn't you? Okay. What have I missed? Rob says I don't want Edison or Belieber. Okay. So I've not gone to get at food. I don't know. For people that know, you might know, but yeah, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. No, so, someone people that know, I'll people know what's happening. Um, so Matheus Fernandez, I'd slap 84 million getting him with too many and cost Belieber. Um, I think lucky. I think that the negotiations for Matheus Fernandez, when they probably most likely get relegated in a few days' time, I think it will be significantly cheaper. So I don't think it would be necessarily that case. So at the moment, let me just check the poll. So if you're able to vote in the live poll, we have got at the moment neither's winning. So no one believes Italian media at the moment. But I'd be interested to know what your preference would be. So can you imagine like tomorrow we get some like breaking news? Manchester United have agreed terms with Tonali, agreed terms with Edison. What would your reaction be? That my initial reaction is what's happening with Edison. That for some reason that I would love Man United to actually just make an offer or have something kind of like I'd kind of like a definitive yes no. That I think Edison would be a good option. If you look at Edison's player profile, he's quite a lot of things he does are quite similar to Elliot Anderson. Okay, admittedly, it's in Serie A and it's not the same level, but the numbers he puts up, attacking wise, defensive wise, are very similar. He is one of these players. I know people are not happy with Edison, so I'm not going to make a campaign to try and change your minds. What I'm saying is, on the defensive side of it, Edison is pretty useful. But on the ball, Edison is a lot better than someone like Agate. He gets a lot of assists. He's pretty physical. He would be okay in the Premier League. The only question I've got really is going to be, how much would the numbers drop off in a more difficult league? And I think we've seen that in terms of Serie A and England, that it's definitely going to be tough. So I think Edison, you'd have to look at him and go, right, if you can get someone like Alex Scott or Tyler Adams or someone that maybe you feel can do what Edison does, but is doing it in the Premier League, I think that's a better option. I think the Tonali one is yeah. So Jim said it'd be underwhelming. Um, yeah, I think with this, that to be honest, it's um it's one of these where you have to kind of see how it works. Like, and yeah, Tonali's agent is doing bits at the moment. Like Tonali's agent has been all over it. If Tonali's agent had gotten that move to Arsenal, we'd be talking about Premier League winner Tonali, wouldn't we? And he wouldn't be an option for Man United. But yeah, maybe we might see something like we might see. I might have to check some of my people, people I know that are running Arsenal fan channels, see if there's any information out there about Tonali and Arsenal, because that was the only other club I saw that was being discussed. I think sometimes there are some circumstances where you don't see much news out there because they kind of know, like they know where he's going to go. So it might be that. Do you remember the situation with Umbuemo, that if people think Tonali and Manchester United is going to be something that happens, then other clubs will not be interested. So I've not heard anything about Belieber actually this morning, which is something that, I mean, we kind of see that a lot, don't we? And as I say that, say Tonali and Belieber could cost as much as Anderson alone. Do you think? I got the feeling that it might be quite expensive. Like I thought Belieber might still be quite costly. Tony says your dream list is above, but you'll back anyone we sign unless it's an absolute mistake. So I would look at this, and so one thing I was doing this morning is I was outside mowing the lawn like for I don't know quite a long time. It felt like a long time anyway because it's quite sunny. And I was thinking that if you look at the last window, Manchester United got Lamans in, we got Cunha and Buemo and Sesko, and at the time there were question marks over whether Lamans was the best goalkeeper to go for because there was a lot of goalkeepers on the market. There was a lot of question marks again about Sesko. Should we go for Ollie Watkins? Actually, Ollie Watkins was very good last night, and he has had a good season for Aston Villa, and would have been a good signing. But you look at Sesko and go, right, we're going to go for someone that's probably got a similar amount of goals to Ollie Watkins in the Premier League this season, and in the future is probably going to be hopefully a better player than Ollie Watkins, and maybe a better use of our money at this point in time. So I was thinking, if Man United did sign any of these players, would we look at it and go like, would you be open minded and go, okay, Man United seem to have done quite well recently. Would it be a problem? Like, would we look at it and go, that so Tonali similar to Rice, but a level or two below in quality, says Danny. Then there's a few players I quite like Matheus Fernandes is quite young, Cos Belieber, Tonali. But these players, they could work in a team. If you look at Belieber plus Mainu, maybe, or if you look at Tonali, it could work in a team. I think it's very difficult to kind of guess how these players are going to be working. And it might be that the fact that these are the first deals we're talking about doesn't mean that they're going to be the deals we get done. So I'm going to say hopefully these are smoke screens and the truth is in your keeping the cards close to the chest. It could be. It could be. I think what could be happening, in my opinion, is going to be that Manchester United. You've got to start somewhere. And when we saw this story, this is kind of the first story I saw this morning. And United are going to be making progress on agreeing personal terms with midfielders. I think we might well agree terms with five or six midfielders. Like we've agreed terms with Belieber. If we agree terms with Edison, and we agree terms with Tonali, we could easily agree terms with maybe someone like Matheus Fernandes. We could agree terms with maybe like an Alex Scott. We could agree terms of like more players than we're going to sign. Like we don't have to then sign those players. So it could be that Man United agree terms with the players, and then as soon as the transfer window opens, like the Athletic is saying, Manchester United can then move rapidly and get deals done. So I think that the fact that we can get terms agreed with these players does not mean that we're going to definitely sign them. That's kind of the story here. That it doesn't mean that we're going to have to do that one. It's looking good, looking good. It's going to be like a heat wave in the next few days. I think Edison would have a mass effect during the first season with the club. So no one thought he would do much, but turned out to be one of our better players. I think that I think Edison would be, that based on what I've read in the comments today, I think Edison would be a better football player for the club than people are initially thinking. That I think he's going to be a better option than Agate and Collier, and it would potentially be a player that maybe maybe doesn't cost that much, won't have a big salary, and could be it could be maybe like a backup option anyway. So and say we could be transitioning to a three-man midfield, holding six, two eights. It could be like we're looking at 4-3-3. It could be something along those lines, couldn't it? So, Man United is like some of the transfer windows we're looking at. We don't know the full plan. We don't know exactly how the team's going to look like once all the transfers are in. But when you look at Edison, Tonali, I think what we're looking at here is that the idea for me is going to be that in our squad, the players that maybe don't start every single game, the players that are maybe on the bench a bit more, will be a lot better quality than what we've had over the last couple of years. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle, isn't it? So I don't think we're going to see significantly. I don't think we're going to see like United can't sign every single player at like 60, 70 million, can they? I say Edison is slightly better than Fred. That's all you're paying for. It's roughly the same money, isn't it? But I think it could be. I think with Edison, you're going to get an effective player that would be a good option to at least that instead of bringing Agati off the bench, you could bring Edison, and I think Edison wouldn't be a massive drop off, but in limited amounts. But and also, I think I think he'd be effective rather than spectacular. That's my guess with that one. I think he'd be a steady player, a lot of experience, uh, played well for Atalanta. And I think maybe you're getting a player that can actually contribute a lot more than Agate could. Agate was quite good defensively, but very limited in possession. I think Edison is a very different player. But I know people have different views as well. Like he's like posting some good stuff recently. It seems that people are going to be So it seems that people are going to be looking at in the same kind of direction. I think some of these signings as well, though, if we're going to get a non-Premier League team, a non-Premier League signing, is it surprising that we just don't see any information regarding like Angela Stiller recently? I don't see much regarding that one. I did see something yesterday which made me I think I posted it on TikTok. I didn't want to do a YouTube stream on it. That Manchester United feel that they're quite close, or they're closer than they have been for a long time in terms of trying to win the title. But yeah, I'm not sure. And what did Ben Jacobs say? Lucky, I saw that and I couldn't find what comment you put out there as well. Now, looking at this, so big up to you, Daz. Both would be classed as Daz. So yeah, I think you're one of the people that's actually more positive, Daz. I think a lot of people that are not overly happy. I think what's going to happen though. I think there's probably only one or two midfielders that everybody would be going right, fantastic, get them in. I think it's probably only going to be Anderson and too many. And any other players beyond that, I think a lot of people start looking at them thinking, I don't know, are they going to be good signings or not? So I think that's what people are thinking. I'm kind of open-minded, and I think again, Tonali doesn't seem like the most exciting signing because we've been thinking about Anderson, and Anderson had a very good game against us on the weekend as well, didn't he? So, a couple of assists for Anderson. Edison could easily drop into the squad and actually be a better player than people realise. I think that's kind of the positive part I've got regarding that one. And I think maybe like with Tonali as well, like Tonali's been treading water at Newcastle for a while. I think he's wanted to leave the club for quite a while as well, like handing in a transfer request, pushing to leave in January. So Tonali's wanted to leave for a while. The only kind of thing regarding that one is that I don't know what the motivation is. I don't know what the reason is, whether he just has fallen out with people at Newcastle, or he wants to leave, or he sees the club lacking ambition. I think some people thought he wanted to go back to Italy. Some people look at him and say he wants to win trophies. If he wants to try and step up, the last thing we want there really is going to be a player joining Man United and then pushing to leave again. So hopefully, if he's coming to Manchester United, hopefully it's because he sees Man United as somewhere he's going to stay for a decent amount of time. And say to win the Premier League title, so what do you need, like 80 points? How far are we off this season? And if we had Carrick in from the start of the season, could we have picked up like another 10 points or so? So with the extra games, so don't forget to post some comments in as well. I'll try and use as many comments as I can. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well, and don't forget to share the live streams because that is the best way of growing the channel. And with the extra games next season, we will struggle. We already get dominated in midfield. Most of our games is United side die. I think against Forest, I thought we did quite well in that regard. I think Eddie Anderson was a standout player, but United created like we played through Forest quite a lot of times, and I think that's going to be not a bad option. If you can't get Anderson, then you go for Tonali. We all believe Anderson's going to City. I think most people think like along those lines, don't they? I don't know if Man United have officially given up, or to be honest, there's not a lot of information out there regarding Anderson. I think people are assuming he was going to go to Man City, but also most people are assuming that Manchester United and Manchester City, neither of them actually play and pay the sort of money that Forest want. So we don't know if that's going to be the case. I think it might well be the case that Nottingham Forest want more money than it's going to actually happen. So if you want to vote in the poll, let's go for the results. United, yeah, we do start games off well at the moment, and we are. I say probably we lose our way at some points in the game, but we do finish the games quite strong. Will these deals get done? So I'll go for the positives to start with. Yes, and this is people's prediction about whether these deals get done. So you think Anderson's going to get done? So Edison's going to get done 19%, Tonali 30%. I think Tonali's more likely than Edison as well, to be honest. I think that seems like a bit more likely. Neither 37%. Both these deals get done 14%. So no, so maybe I think Tonali feels a bit like the sort of target, and I have said this in the past. Like too many probably stays at Real Madrid. Most people look at Elliot Anderson as potentially the hardest deal to do, and we're not ruling it out. But I think Tonali would be the player that Manchester United go for if you don't get Anderson. I think he would then be top target. He's probably like second or third on the list behind Too Many and Anderson. But because those deals are difficult, I think we would get now. Remember last year that Delap was our top striker target. We didn't get him. I think this time it feels a bit like Anderson is clearly going to be a good signing if you do manage to get him. But I think that's an interesting one. So I think most people, by saying you think it's going to happen, it almost feels like we're saying that we don't think Anderson's going to happen because it feels like we get Anderson or Tonali. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. And welcome to the conversation, James. So Edison has a good engine up and down the pitch all day long. Easily played 2 or 3 games a week. Add Tonali and Fernandez as a midfield rebuild done. If you're looking at playing like 4-3-3 as well, I think one of the things that people like about Edison that watch him play, and I'm guessing you must have watched him play a bit as well, is that he is quite physical. He is a strong player. I think the physicality of the Premier League he'd be absolutely fine with. He is someone that is energetic, and I think that's why he's been linked for a while. When we're looking at trying to play, say, Bruno Fernandes deeper, Edison would have been a much better option. For me, he's a lot better than Agate. He can do defensively what Agate does, but he can actually do a lot of things on the ball. So I think he'd be a better player than people realise. But at the moment, he'd have to just prove he can do it in the Premier League. So I think if he can do what he's doing in Serie A in the Premier League, and if he can get up to speed quite quickly, people would be quite happy with him. But I think at the moment, it's kind of a bit of for a lot of fans, it's a bit of an unknown. I think with like Tonali and Fernandez, you do get that players that are already in the midfield. for Premier League teams. And to be honest, if Manchester United got Tonali, Fernandes, and Ederson, Ederson's got loads of time to get up to speed as well because Tonali and Fernandes, they're first team players, aren't they? And with Mainoo, you've got three first team players there. Potentially, we look at playing a couple of different ways as well. So I think Ederson, there wouldn't be a lot of pressure on Ederson to suddenly, this isn't like Florian Wirtz. We're not going to sign Ederson and he's going to be playing every single match. But if he plays well, he could surprise people. So I think it's going to be in the category of it's not going to cost so much money that if it doesn't work out, it's a disaster. But it's going to be one that potentially could be a good deal if we got him. I mean, Atletico Madrid look and sign him, and they don't tend to. They've got a decent budget. They can look at some good deals. Endemada says Edison backwards. Do you think it's backwards? I think it's It depends what you're thinking about replacing. Like Agati had a good engine, but when Agati was on the ball, like Agate's defensive work was okay, wasn't it? But it was just when you looked at Agati in possession, what did he do? Like sometimes it's a panic pass, and just like gave away possession. So yeah, I think. Do you think Rodri goes? Then Andy's saying that. How would people feel? Okay, if put it this way, what if Anderson goes to Manchester City, Rodri goes to Real Madrid, too many actually comes to Manchester United, and Manchester United get Edison, Tonali, and too many? Like, how would you feel? Like, say you can spend, I don't know how much is going to cost for Tonali. If it's like 80 and it's like 75 for too many, and it's about 39 for Edison, that's going to be under 200 million pounds, isn't it? So 80, so maybe 155. Yeah, it's going to be just under 200 million pounds, and that gets you three midfielders. So you could have Mainu, too many, Tonali, Edison. If that was your midfield rebuild, what would be the thoughts regarding that one? Because like for me, too many is an elite football player. If he's in the conversation, I think it's a different story. Like the transfer window, a very different story. If you got too many plus Tonali and Edison, I think suddenly you've got that is some good options, isn't it? It doesn't feel like there's a lot of pressure to get Tonali. I think we could go for other players as well, but Tonali's got some experience. That would actually be quite an experienced midfield if you think about it. Too many 26, Tonali about 26. I think, are they all 26, or is like one of them Tonali 25? So that would be pretty much what Man United did last year. That we get players that are that sort of age, and then maybe like Mainoo is going to be the one for the future, rather than signing someone like Alex Scott or Tyler Adams. So would that be a good option? Like with and what happened to Leon? I think Leon was bought for a small price with the idea that he'd be a Man United player. It's going to be at least 2 or 3 years time from when we bought him. So yeah, I don't know. Cohen says if we go get in the three midfielders of lower quality, then by 2028-29, the team could be built and we could go for a Pogba-like signing. It could be in a couple of years' time that Man United go for someone else and go for like yeah. And Anderson's like the top target for people this year, but maybe in a year's time, maybe it's different. Maybe we look at someone completely new. So yeah, I think it's things can change quite quickly in the transfer window, can't they? And you can look at targets and go, right, who's going to be the top target this year? Clearly there's a few. And then when you fast forward a year's time, there could be different targets as well. So I think when you're looking at these though, I think the targets we're looking at, it might be a good idea to buy one that's a bit cheaper, unless if you think the academy is going to be like there or thereabouts, able to take care of some of these positions in the future, then maybe that's what you do as well. So it could be that the academy is going to be there in a couple of years' time. I think most of these signings, you'd feel like if United did Edison, Tonali, too many as signings, they wouldn't need to spend much in the next couple of years, would they? So it would give like Konki, Kone, Thwaites, it would give academy players a chance to actually get into the team. Maybe Kobe mainly steps up as well. So No, so that it could be a strong midfield, and we're talking about a midfield at the moment where one of the players was like over 30, and we had Agate was ineffective, and we didn't have a lot of options either. So yeah, I think we could go from like a very different position. So and so don't be surprised to hear that Mourinho's going to be what kicking out too many. You think if he kicks out too many, I think too many is a top quality player. So I think there'll be a few people interested in signing him. So that that if they get Rodri in, I think Mourinho's usually at a club for what 2 years, and he'll usually be looking at trying to start. Mourinho will have an idea about what he wants to try and he's going to want to win quite quickly, isn't he? So Mourinho won't be signing any inexperienced players, will he? So Rodri might fit the bill. If you can keep too many, it might be sensible. If we get our money back for Leon, it's worth the gamble. I don't think Leon costs too much. I think it's like a few million, to be honest. So I think if we're going to get, we'll definitely get our money back for Leon, but he's not going to be ready for the first team for like another couple of years at least. So it was a long term plan with Leon, 100%. Because if there's any like final comments and questions, there might be a live stream tonight. I'm not 100% sure. 5 or 6 million. Yeah, Leon cost about 5 million, I understand. So there might be like add-ons with that one as well. But Leon was a cheap deal for the future. That's kind of what we're thinking about with that one. So cheap deal for the future, but certainly worth doing these sort of deals because you never know, do you? Aiden Heaven for 1.5 million, Cheeto for 1 million, Leon for like 5 million, Dorgu for like 25 million. These sort of deals, yeah, it keeps things moving in the right direction, doesn't it? If you can do these cheap deals, it makes a lot of sense as well. A lot of sense. A Roscoe looks a better prospect. We got him for peanuts. Yeah, how much was a Roscoe? Because that's another one as well. Like another one that we looked at and we got signed quite early. And yeah, no, cheers, Danny B. Cheers. I try not to talk too much about personal stuff on here, Cohen. But so, any final comments before we wrap up? Just a summary, then one of the things to look out for is you might see all these breaking stories, but a lot of it's going to come from the same source, and a lot of it's going to come down from Manchester United are essentially going to be agreeing personal terms with players before the transfer window opens. So over the next couple of days, do not be surprised to see suddenly loads of hype for another football player as well, because I think Manchester United will be looking at trying to agree terms with a few players ahead of the transfer window and then work out. Maybe what they need to do is if Tonali's interested, Ederson's interested, that's two people. Maybe they look at a few others as well. And if they're interested, then maybe they're going to be people we can sign as well. So that's what I'm thinking. I think United are going to do the groundwork, and hopefully that's what we're going to see. No, no worries, Cohen. No worries. Um, no, so no, cheers for that, Berber. And for people that want to, I did do a short video this morning, which I did post at 9 p.m. I say 9 a.m. as well, and that's kind of there for information as well. Cheeky Lingard loan, no way, no way. Doesn't he play in like South Korea or something? So I don't know. If you're new to the channel, I know there's like a couple of different faces I saw today that I haven't seen before. Please consider subscribing. We're trying to push towards 1K again, and there will be some big content planned for the Sunday for the match. There will be a live watch along as usual. We couldn't do one last time, but there will be a live watch along, a couple of guest hosts, and then we will have a calling show where people are welcome to come on and have their say on the final match of the season. And we will maybe preview that one tomorrow as well. Um, I think you're right, Lucky. I think Agati is going to get offers from Italian clubs and maybe Galatasaray. I think that's going to happen. Lingard's at Corinthians now. Okay. Well, he's not going to come back to Manchester. I think that's one thing that's not going to happen as well. Big up to all the legends as well that are in the chat as well. It's been a good stream. There's been a lot of things potentially going to be happening in the near future. But no, look out for stories and just look at the stories and just be a bit skeptical that Man United might well be looking at lots of players that agree to join the club first, then we might see bids going in. So I don't think we're going to see bids going in yet until the players agreed. And so the transfer window doesn't open for, how was that, 15th of June, so another few weeks, but we could see something happening with like players agreeing terms, and maybe that'd be an indication. I would love to see something happening with like either Rodri goes to Madrid or signs a new contract for Man City, and that might be one of the keys to working out what's going to be going on as well. And how many subs? I'm not sure at the moment. I think it's like 823. There's a very small number in the very top right of the stream. Hopefully, it goes up a little bit today, but I don't know. For people that saw me leave the stream midway through the stream, then I've got someone visiting. That's why. So there may be a slight reduction in streams over the next couple of days, but I'll post things in the Discord. The Discord is pinned as well. I think if you want to get involved in that one, I'll just share it again. So if you want to be kept up to date with what's happening, then the Discord server is where you find the information. Let's just post that again. So that's where you'll be kept up to date. There will be regular streams, but I'm not sure it'll be the same amount as it has been over the last week. But there will be regular stuff, and if there's something newsworthy coming up, we will be doing we will try to cover it as well, either myself or other people. So big up to you, Jim. Big up to you, Gregory and Ryan, all the people in the chat as well, the moderators, channel members. Thank you for supporting the channel, and we will see you maybe tonight, but certainly tomorrow and certainly on the weekend as well, as we look forward to playing against Brighton. And maybe it's going to be a bit of believer scouting. So I would probably say look out for any sort of stories regarding believer because we are playing them on the weekend. It's bound to like kind of get journalists starting to push out more rumors and more stories as well. So just have a look at that one as well. So Discord has more news than Sky Sports. It certainly does. Jim and Cody doing great stuff on Discord, and there's about 80 people on there now. So get involved in that if you want to. A nice one, and the madness. So, so thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next stream. Get in Discord if you want to be kept up to date when that's going to be. But I will post on social media on Twitter as well. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your day.